came back in that summer,
Yeah.
obviously then, it sounds like you're quite shocked at what you saw.
I walked in here and I thought, this needs a complete facelift. And when I'm saying, I didn't mean new buildings, it needed smartening up.
Yeah.
I'm all about standards. You know, you've got no money, okay, but paint the building, paint the benches, make the place look pristine, because then the players will walk in and feel that they've got to perform to them standards.
Yeah.
If the place is unkempt, then how can you expect players to set standards? So the first thing was, we got all the supporters around him, we had to get down with paint, if you remember that summer.
I do. Well, I remember before that, Tommy, and you may remember this,
Yeah.
we had a fundraiser stroke afternoon meet and greet.
Yeah, we did at the Dragon.
At
Yeah,
the Dragon.
I forgot about that, yeah.
And so immediately you did what you did back in 2008. Came in like a burst of energy.
Yeah.
Really positive.
Yeah.
And you told us we were going to win the league.
Wayne had a good eye for a player. I like Wayne.
Yeah.
And once we got over the shock of the ground, and we got your lot down with the paint brushes, bless you all, and we got things moving here. We got a training area and whatever. Me and Mark said we've got some good lads here, Ollie Clark, Ollie Robbo, Toby Moore, Niall Davey. Yeah. But the fighting to death, they needed arm around them. You could see that the relegation or whatever it was, it tainted them. Yeah. They didn't want to express themselves on the pitch. So we just come in and says, look, go and enjoy yourselves. Play to the best of you. All we ask you to do is work hard in the opposition. But while you're doing that, when you get the ball, use your natural ability, you know, and express yourselves. A big shock was bringing Bawley back, Martin Ball.
Yeah.
I think 99% bet against him. I think Nick put something on a website saying, will he be the player he was? Well, that's a challenge to Bawley. He was absolutely immense. Couldn't, you know, one of the older boys amongst the lads. It was probably only him. Trying to think of the team.
Poku up front.
Yeah, we didn't.
Been there the
Tyler Blake. You can't say we bought Danny Elliott back. We can't say we went and signed 7 or 8 because we didn't. No. You know, it was just making them believe that they're good footballers and to not worry about the result. Just go and enjoy yourselves and play some good football for the supporters. And that was our mantra all season. And we was in the playoffs, weren't we?
Yeah, well, I mean, we were absolutely flying. We won 4-0 at home.
I know.
On a Tuesday, and then on Saturday against Glossop.
Yeah.
And then COVID.
I know.
The world ended.
I actually looked at the league table the other day.
Yeah,
Mark showed me on the bus. Yeah. We was odds on that we was in the playoffs.
Well, we were 5th, so we were in the playoff position.
But the point
we were on the way up. We were going up.
And the point gap was pretty big. And who knows with that team, because they had no fear. You know, when you've got a team like that and there's no fear, and you're not creating any fear, you're just telling them, oh, you've lost 3-0. You know, go out and play the next one. You feel like you can beat anybody. That's when the support started creeping a little bit.
I was going to say that because at the end of Wayne's last season, I think Mick put it on the website last week, the gate was, I don't know, 76, 77 for a must-win game against AFC Manchester, which we managed to lose 2-0 against a team that had already been relegated. And so that wasn't that different from your first spell here.
No.
Crowds, very often two-figure crowds.
Yeah.
COVID, we were getting more fans 19, 20 anyway. Then COVID happens, but the one positive of COVID was that when we did play again, the professional teams still weren't playing. So 21-22 season in the Midlands.
6th.
We finished 6th. We had we lost a game away at Corby, which we played poorly out, and it looked like we were out of the playoff hunt then. Yeah. But then we went on a winning run.
Yeah, we did.
A bit like we've done this season.
Yeah.
And beat Belper with a goal in the last minute.
Yeah.
Pushed it all the way to the final day of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
When we lost away at Stamford, and my one recollection of that day, apart from you managing to get sent off again, even though we've lost 3-0, is the photo that we're in the club bar, which that tells you what's happening at the club. You know, 40, 50 fans have gone to Stamford, which is unheard of.
It's crazy.
We won there in Wayne's last year, so only 2 or 3 years earlier, and we had like 4 fans.
And then obviously the Great Escape. I know you all love that. That was, for me, a season of failure. But And
well,
as fans, you loved it, so that's fine.
Only like the last 10 games. The rest of it was a bit grim.
I mean, I think with that one, I'm only going to touch on it briefly because it's a bad memory for me, but because I won't well that year anyway. But for me, it was the shock of being moved in the East.
Should have, but we
got a squad assembled.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, Sean Rowley, keeper, won't get a sign. 5 others won't get a sign. And then looking back, we're begging players to stay to show us a bit of loyalty. Did me and Mark really want to do all that travel? I'll be honest with you, it was tough.
Yeah.
And I think all season, looking back now, we was playing the card that we'd been missed out with, rather than saying the second season,
just get on with it.
Just get on with it. But that was the issue. That was the problem because it was a huge shock. Would I have done different? Who knows? Because it's not often that happens to anybody, is it?
No, but do you think though, Tommy? I mean, as poor a season as it might have been from your personal point of view, you still never gave up.
No,
and you were still, you and Mark were both still trying to find a way of sorting the problem.
Yeah,
and in the end, the solution seemed to be Alex Troke.
And I'll tell you how that come about. We'd lost on the Saturday.
We'd lost to North Shields 2-1 in the last minute.
Me and Mark were ringing around everywhere about strikers. Brad Wells had left.
Yeah.
And this is football for you. I thought, I'm gonna have to get that. I was at a lodge with Tina. I'd gone straight from football to a lodge with Tina, my granddaughter. And they were in bed about 10 o'clock ready for match of the day. We'd rang all these people and we just got not blanks, but maybes.
Yeah,
it wasn't a maybe time. We needed somebody in.
Yeah.
Then a message come through from Choker. Gaff, love playing for you, Mark. I've got a bit of glass in my toe, but I want to come and help you out if you'd have me.
Wow.
And, you know, that's whatever, maybe because we've done things right in the past by these people. But
of course, he played for us under Les.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he won the playoffs with us at Colville.
Yeah.
You know, and says to Mark, we got a striker. I went, who? He says, Joker. He went, I said, don't ask. This is just messaged me last night. Right, great. And you just needed a bounce. We just needed, and he gave us that bounce because the lads knew he was a good player.
Yeah.
We were a decent side. You know, that was the conundrum, wasn't it? We got players such as Nat and people like that, and it just wasn't happening. You know. Well,
we all know from watching football all the time. If you're on that kind of bad run when you're letting late goals, you seem to keep letting it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't stop.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other way as well. When you score late winners, they just keep happening.
Yeah.
That game at Hebburn, though, I mean, that was the start of the Great Escape.
Yeah.
I remember distinctly because we went up obviously we had a coach, went up in a couple of cars, and when the players came out, they heard a bit of "Come on, Carlton," and they looked across. And you could see they were thinking, "What the fuck?
Yeah.
Why have you come here?"
Absolutely.
To Newcastle on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And there was Trokey in the team as well. He was immense that night.
He was super. And you got a manager for Hebburn who played for Carlton, Dan Moore.
Yes.
Knott's lad who moved to Newcastle.
Who'd beaten us only 10 days earlier.
Absolutely. So there was a lot. And
going for promotion.
And that goal from Niall Davey was...
goal of the decade.
And I think that just kicked us on that night, didn't it?
Did.
Yeah, absolutely. And even then we had to throw one in, didn't we? Losing away at Lincoln, pointing in a die performance.
but saw it through. What was relief for you on the final day when we beat Dunstan? And we were fairly certain amongst ourselves that we were going to get that reprieve because we knew that.
Well, me and Mark went back to my bar and got hammered.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want that on your CV. You know, I had it once at Hucknall and I never wanted it again. And it don't matter what the R is there for, if it's somebody else's fault or it's your fault, it's still on your CV. And I didn't want another one. I didn't want this club going down. I felt there was huge potential for it still, if we could get and find a way around this East. And I tell you what did us. We played in the final at Eastwood, didn't we?
Yes.
And we lost. And I turned around to Mark and says, this is an old side, we've got to revamp it. We've got to... And we didn't really revamp it, but we brought some young blood in, you know.
And then, the next year, brilliant season.
Yeah, playoffs,
Finished fifth. lost to a very good Stockton side who've shown how good they are.
Yeah.
This season, they're up.
Top draw. Top draw.
But a great season, and we beat them on their own patch.
Yeah.
And this year, apart from a slightly inconsistent start and a sticky November, we've had a wonderful second half of the season.
Yeah, we have. I said to the lads Saturday, final game, I says, look, what I'd like you to do is come back pre-season fitter, stronger, work your socks off for Mark and Andy. I says, because you've actually dropped 16 points from the bottom 5.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a mentality shift. That's mentality, that is. You know, looking at league tables. Says you need to come back thinking you're winners and come back determined that, touch wood, 99% in that Midland League, you're going to go and win it. And that's got to be the mentality now. And I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will.
So I won't ask about your new role, Tommy, because I know Mick's holding on for that.
Yeah.
But I'll ask you a couple of other things before we wrap this up. Why now? Why are you walking away from, as it were, frontline dugout management at this stage?
So 2 years ago, we brought Andy in, and I explained to Andy what my plan was.
Yeah.
That 30 years is a hell of a long time to be the main man, you know, to be, what's the word, the motivator, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. The focal point of
And me and Mark are completely different characters. You know, Mark's really calm and laid back and, you know, good character, whereas I'm on the edge of your seat. And it's draining. You know, I do 13,000 steps on a Saturday in that dugout. Yeah. I've got to make a plan for that, by the way, because I'll have to go to the gym Saturday morning or something. But, you know, in the end, you got to say to yourself, you've got to wind down at some time. I want to help this club get better. I've been doing a lot of work this last 6 years behind the scenes anyway. Yeah. It's very draining doing that and football. Yeah. You know how this club works, you know, and you know, Mick's a great chairman, but there's lots of scope to make this club bigger. Yeah. I want it to be number 1 in Nottingham, and that might, you know, ruffle the near neighbours, Baseford and that, but that's what we're in it for. We're in it to try and be the best club, you know, and I think we're very close to doing that now with the support. Hopefully in the Midland next year, there's even more supporters. And for me, ultimately, I want this club to be the biggest in Nottingham because it's my club. I think experience gets abused nowadays. I think they look at us as past it or old gits or whatever. But to me, I think every club, you look at Lincoln now, they've got Sam Wilkinson, Dave Frex, all behind the scenes, pushing that club forward, ex-players, ex-managers, and I think it's a future for non-league. Don't abuse the experienced people, you know, with that knowledge, you know.
I mean, you know, not just because you're here, Tommy, but, the point about 22, 23, 10 games to go.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the experience that you've got, I don't think we stay up.
100%.
You do something rash and we get relegated.
100%. And you can't explain it.
You and Mark.
You can't. There's no coaching badges for that. Yeah. It's basically staying calm in the head of the storm and saying, well, yeah, this is what we're going to do. Even in November this year, you see in the interview I put out, and I made Dan Brown do that one. We didn't change a player.
At Brighouse, yeah.
Yeah, we bought Greg Tempest back, but that was because he wanted to come back, not because, oh, well, we're in the shit here. That same squad, me and Mark just said, and this squad's good enough, it'll still get up there. We've just had a bad run. And that's what you have to tell yourself, you know, because as I said earlier, winning and losing, they're imposters. When you're working in a company, unless you're in stocks and shit, you're not winning and losing. Yeah. You know, football is so high and so low that it can transform your brain. You know, you shouldn't talk to anybody on a Sunday. You shouldn't talk to chairman on a Sunday. You should go to bed, have Sunday with your family, Monday get up, and then, you know what, you've got another vision of what went wrong on a Saturday or what went right.
And that brings me on to the final point I want to ask you about, Tommy, which is any advice you've got to give to kind of young managers out there. You mentioned so many out there who used to play for you, or used to play for Carlton Town. We've got Bully and DT over at Eastwood.
Yeah,
Lee Attenborough used to play for you, didn't he?
Lee Atts, Danny Barrett at Grimsby Borough.
Yeah.
Dan Moore, Tris. Brad Munn, you know, they're all doing well in their own right, and I'm pleased they are.
But yeah, and
first thing, be honest. Yeah. Like I said earlier, if you're going to leave a player out, tell him. You're going to release a player, tell him. Just be honest and straight. And look, you're going to have to walk in pubs all your life, wherever you are in the country. What you don't want is some bloke walking up to you and saying, "You did me," or his dad or uncle going, you did my lad. Nobody can ever say that to me. They might have been upset that they've been released. They might have been upset that they've been dropped. But I've never done anybody down. I've never treated anybody unfairly, you know. And yeah, hold your head up high. You've got to do things right. And don't get too down and don't get too high, you know. And part of that, if you're at a good club with a good chairman, stick at it, because you cannot do one without the other. You have to have a good chairman and a good manager. If one's not right, you'll win nothing.
Tommy Brookhouse, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming.
Droned on a bit, haven't I?
Not at all. I'm delighted that it's clear that you're going nowhere, even if you're moving out the dugout.
No, I'm not going anywhere.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thank you.